There is such a cool story I read this morning about this woman in the Old Testament who saved an entire city because of her negotiating skill. Keep watching, and I'm going to share with you this story, a little bit about it, what some of the commentarians think about it, and why it's so important for you as a professional woman in the marketplace today to know how to negotiate. Hi, my name is Shawn Sommerkamp, and this is Motivationeer Christian Coaching. I post 2 videos a week, so please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you can be reminded when I do. Please also consider becoming a member at Motivationeer.com. Your membership really supports this channel. Thank you. The story takes place in 2 Samuel chapter 20, verses 15 through 22, I think, pretty close to that. It's in the story of towards the end of David's life. The basic situation is a big insurrection had happened when David's eldest son kind of took over, kicked his father out, so to speak. A battle eventually happened. His son Absalom is now dead, and David is coming back to kind of take over the kingdom, moving back into Jerusalem. And there's this one wacko named Sheba who decides he doesn't want to follow David and starts to turn a whole bunch of people against him again before David even comes back to his throne. So David starts pulling together an army, and I won't go into lots of the details, but sends his commander, Joab, in the army after this guy Sheba, who fled to a town and was hiding inside some city. And it's inside that city that Joab is trying to get, breaking into the walls with his army, laying siege to this little city. When out of nowhere, the story says this woman, who's nameless, it doesn't even give us her name, kind of steps in. She's within the city, steps up to the wall perhaps, I don't know those details either, but calls out to Joab and negotiates for the safety of her city. In the passage, in 2 Samuel chapter 20, verse 15, it says, "Now a wise woman," and then tells her story. It's, again, 4 or 5 verses. That's why I named the video what I named it. Wise women know how to negotiate, because she showed incredible negotiating skills with a very, I'll say, violent male leader of an army, and succeeded. Now, we don't see exactly her negotiation with the men of the city, but basically what she does is she talks Joab out of continuing to attack, and then goes back to the officials, we suppose, and convinces them to give up Sheba, the guy that started the insurrection but then fled. And they did. They agreed to her terms, and they gave Sheba over to Joab. Actually, she had his head cut off and the head tossed over the wall. Sounds like a Monty Python thing, but that's what happened. And Joab left, and the army left the city alone. What I found very fascinating was when I read the commentary written by my favorite commentarian, Matthew Henry. He lived around the early 1700s. He died in like 1714. But I want to read for you how he kind of interprets what was going on with this woman. I just loved it. It's so profound. I wanted to share it. And when it comes to being an exemplary professional in the corporate world today, I think women who follow Christ can have a major impact at all levels in the organization, very high levels. And when you learn really how to master negotiation. Okay, so let me read to you what Matthew Henry says about her in this little scene where he's given the commentary about 2 Samuel chapter 20. "It seems none of all the men of the city, none of all the elders or magistrates offered to negotiate with Joab. No, not when they were reduced to the last extremity," meaning even to the extremes of the city's walls being torn down, the male leaders of this city would not go negotiate with Joab. Matthew Henry goes on to say, "They were stupid and unconcerned for the public safety, or they stood in awe of Sheba, the guy that led their insurrection." So maybe Sheba had these men under his spell. "Or they despaired of gaining any good terms with Joab," meaning they didn't think that they had the negotiation chops to persuade Joab. "Or they did not have sense enough to manage the treaty. They just didn't have the skill set. But this one woman," as Matthew Henry says, "in her wisdom saved the city." Souls know no difference of sexes. Though the man be the head, and Matthew Henry here is talking about from a biblical perspective, I think it's in Paul's letter to the church in Corinthians, where it says the man is the head of the household, just like Christ is the head of the church. Matthew Henry says, though the man be the head, it does not therefore follow that he has the monopoly of the brains, and therefore he ought not to have the monopoly of the crown. Many a masculine heart, and more than masculine, has been found in the female breast. Nor is the treasure of wisdom the less valuable for being lodged in the weaker vessel. Now, this idea of being a weaker vessel, he's basically just saying, physically weaker. Yes, not all women are weaker than all men, but the vast majority, the top, 100 strongest people in the world are male, for example. I love this perspective of his, written back in the late 1600s. He's basically saying there's no discrimination among the sexes when it comes to brilliance and wisdom and negotiation. And we see here, we don't know all the tactics she used, but please read this short few verses and you'll see the way that she kind of approached Joab. It was really amazing. Again, it doesn't tell us how she went back to the leaders of the city and negotiated to give the guy Sheba up to Joab, but she does that too. We can infer that. So what I recommend to you as a female leader in the marketplace, keep pushing the bounds of your career advancement by investing in the time it takes to learn some great negotiation techniques. If you're watching this and you want to learn a little bit more about negotiation, go to my website, become a member, and then type in the search bar negotiation. You'll find this video I did where I go into great detail, step by step, on how to negotiate in a righteous way. I've not seen any technique used like the one that I teach on inside my membership page. I think you'll love it. I did it as one of my Saturday Zoom sessions. But the point is, you can have a great impact in the corporate world as a woman for Christ by learning how to negotiate. This is a great story in 2 Samuel 20 that teaches us this. Even though the woman is unnamed, it is really one of the more powerful stories of how a woman made an impact, in fact, saving the whole city. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for 2 new videos each week. Tell me in the comments below about your career situation and I'll make a video for you with a shout out. You can also become a member at Motivationeer.com. Your career is not just a way to make a living, it's a way to transform the world.